This is the first time that I've done this, so bear with me. It was my freshman year at Jacksonville University. I was a right-handed pitcher. I tear up my elbow about a month and a half into my freshman fall, and I go in to get it fixed at this medical facility in Jacksonville, Florida. I had like a pre-op meeting where they ask you all these questions to make sure that you're safe to get operated on, and one of the questions that the lady asked me was, "Are you allergic to anesthesia?" And I didn't know the answer. I'd never been under, so I just assumed the answer was no. I was like, probably not. Only one way to find out. So the next day, I go in for surgery. I'm in the pre-operation room with my mom by my bedside, and the doctor says, "We've put anesthesia through your IV, so by the time we get from this pre-operating room to this operating room, which was about 10 feet, you're going to be under the anesthesia. Surgery's going to be done in an hour. You're not going to feel a thing." They wheel me into that room, that 10 feet. And when I get into the room that I'm supposed to be operated on, I'm still fully conscious and awake. I didn't say anything because I figured it was just a part of the process. I figured maybe the anesthesia hadn't hit me just yet. So I'm seconds away from getting operated on. I mean, the doctors had all their tools ready, but I was still awake. In the flash of a second, I was then transferred into this other realm where I was looking from above down at my dead body laying on the operating table. I watched my body turn purple and then this lifeless blue and this corpse-like white. And I watched my heart monitor go from beep, 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 beep to beep. It felt like there was a glass panel separating me from where I was in the other realm to where I was on the table. I was transferred into this other realm and shown a review of my life from start to finish. And it included every moment of my life. Baseball games as a kid, things that happened during my childhood within my family unit. Then it included the most fond memory that I had, which was a very memorable basketball game, including myself and my stepdad, who had passed away 2 years prior to this experience. And in this basketball game, Mike was his name, Mike and I played this very intense basketball game where it was back and forth and we were both intimidated by the competitor in one another. But anyways, he ended up winning the game, and we shared this very loving moment between one another that we had never shared before. It stuck with me. That was the last moment that flashed before my eyes in my life review when I watched the movie of my life from a third-person perspective. After the movie of my life was done, I was looking face to face with my dead body on the operating table. And it hit me. It was like, fuck, my life is over. This is it. It's done. I'm never going to get to go back. And in that moment, I felt pretty upset. I'm sure as you can imagine. But pretty upset doesn't do the feeling justice. That's a part of the reason I haven't told this story before in this much detail, is because part of me feels like it's pointless. You can't use words to describe the depth of these feelings. But I'm going to try, because it's my duty. It's my responsibility to serve. So I just feel this anger at myself. You know, in my life review, I got to watch how I treated my family. I got to watch how I did them wrong at times, how I mistreated them at times. And I got to watch the moments in which I took life for granted. And it was painful to have to die knowing that I never gave myself a chance to right my wrongs. And that lasted for what felt like a lifetime. Time in this place was not real. It didn't exist. These feelings that I'm describing, these emotions, felt like they lasted forever. And it was a shitty feeling. Shitty. The worst feeling I've ever had in my life. And it was my last moment, which foreshadows why I'm so passionate about this mission of becoming ready to die. After that, eventually, I just accepted the fact that I was dead. You know what? There's nothing I can do about it now. I might as well just try and move on. After I accepted my fate, I was transitioned into this other realm where everything was blue and crystally, and it felt like I was looking at the outside world from the perspective of the inside of a diamond. It's indescribable what that place was like. I was everything, and everything was me. It was pure bliss. It was perfection. If there was a heaven, you can use that word to describe what it felt like. You can use the word God to describe what it felt like. You can use the word nirvana. Insert whatever word you feel is necessary. That's what it felt like. There was no voice in my head anymore. After I let go of that regret and that anger at myself, there was no voice in my head that could feel these things. It was just like that voice was gone, and I was my essential being. As woo-woo as that sounds, it made perfect sense there. Everything made perfect sense. I didn't have to think thoughts. I just knew everything. I knew exactly where I was. I knew that this place was the most real place that ever existed, way more than Earth. I had a universal knowledge of the entire universe. Again, that sounds woo-woo. It's not. I am not a woo-woo type person. I'm cut and dry. Give me facts. That's the type of person I am. I'm in this indescribable place, and I see this strange figure appears, and immediately I can make out who it is. Before I even get to introduce myself, he passes me a basketball. The person that passed me the basketball in this other place was Mike. We were recreating that moment that I just witnessed in my life review, the moment that stuck with me, that core memory of mine. We played basketball for what felt like an eternity. It felt like it lasted forever. And after the game, Mike slowly stepped back. The communication was telepathic. I knew what the words were, but he didn't say the words with his mouth. So he steps back and he communicates to me, I know how badly you wanted a second chance. And would you believe me if I was sent here to propose something to you? You can stay here with me forever in this place, or you can have that second chance that you wanted. But here's the thing. There is no wrong decision. If you stay here with me, I want you to know that our family back on Earth is going to be okay. And one day they're going to join us here. But if you get this second chance, you have a responsibility. What do you mean? And he said, if you go back to Earth and I give you this second chance, you have to live out your purpose. And he referred to it as a great purpose. As you can imagine, that was a very challenging decision. Do I stay here in ultimate eternal perfection, where there's no voice in my head beating me down? I have no attachment to identity or form or worldly possessions. Or do I make sure that I go back to Earth and do it right, so that way the next time this happens, I don't feel that regret? If I go back, I'll have a lot of suffering to do. This experience is going to change my life. And I knew this. I knew this in that other realm. But it didn't feel like I had a choice. Obviously, here I am. I accept your offer. I'm going to go live out this great purpose. And then I woke up on the table and I was punching the doctors. That was the hardest decision I've ever had to make in my life. And me punching the doctors was symbolic of me fighting a battle against myself with the decision that I had just made.